From the tops of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers Club, and, of course, Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. Jaap Van Etten is a refreshingly good representative of the crystal skull phenomenon, beautifully marrying the esoteric with the scientific in a way that is easy to understand. Jaap was born in the Netherlands, received his PhD in biology in Amsterdam, specializing in ecology. Since the 90s, his focus has been on metaphysical ecology. He studies and teaches about human energies, earth energies, crystal skull energies, and how these interact with each other and with us on a daily basis. Van Etten's scientific perspective provides a strong foundation of credibility and understanding regarding the energy of the crystal skulls. His website, crystalskulls.com, if you want to check it on out. Then in the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Jaap Van Etten, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time tonight. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, and it's great to be part of your show, Dave.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on in with us. My friend, you are a man of a scientific background that has taken you to levels of the unknown. And realistically, when you started your scientific education, did you ever think it would lead to studying crystal skulls?
Absolutely not. No. I was, you can say, I did a pretty standard training in biology at the university, and my passion was to do research in ecology, and my first phase was in Africa, actually. I worked for 6 years at an international center in Kenya, and I was so passionate about science. But you know, when you really go into science on a deeper level, and you also work in an international center, you get this information that helps you to understand that a lot of science is basically funded by organizations and by, sometimes companies. And that actually there is a lot of political stuff behind it. And pretty soon I realized, oh boy, it's not so much about science, it's about governments, organizations that want us to go in a certain direction. And if you don't get funds. And that really threw me off. And, one of the things that was, for me, really the last straw that broke the camel's back was when I was an advisor of foreign affairs of the Dutch government. And I was supposed to advise on tsetse fly projects in Africa. And I advised against it, and I gave good arguments. You know what they did with me? They fired me. They fired me.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah. So what I learned from that is that most of, I'm saying not all, there's a lot of very good scientists, of course, but there's a lot of science that actually is manipulated into certain directions. So if you bring out certain stuff that is not within political systems or within an organization or within the university parameters, then you are in trouble. And so that at a certain moment for me was like, I don't understand this. This doesn't really work for me. So I've been searching after that for different other ways, went into teaching at the university. I like that, to be honest. But even there, it was only teaching within a certain framework. So after a while, it was like, no, I don't have my true freedom. And increasingly, I got interested in what is called subtle energies. Those that you can't measure. As a biologist, you get to deal with what we call life force. Do you know that there is no way you can measure how much life force that a human being has, or that an animal has, or a plant has? Nonetheless, we accept that it exists. So that's the doubleness of science. You know, you accept certain things, but you're not allowed to really study it because then your funding dries up. And all the different aspects make me at a certain moment say, okay, maybe I can find a more independent way of functioning. So ultimately, I ended up into the study that you mentioned. You know, I began to study earth energies, included, and I will always be a scientist. There's a saying, once a scientist, always a scientist. So my approach remains scientific, but a lot of scientists will absolutely say that I am not a true scientist because I use methodology that is not scientifically accepted. But yeah, that was the reason why I went in a different direction. And still, when I was studying earth energies, I would never have expected that I would get into crystal skulls.
I want to ask you about that. Why do you think that the scientific community on a lot of different realities is very narrow-minded when it comes to the study of esoterics or even UFOs, cryptids, or consciousness for that level? You know, isn't the fact of science, to, you know, breaking it down to its simplest form, is to study and test all of these potential theories that are out there. Yet if we're closing our minds to it, how does that work?
Well, I totally agree with you. The point is that if you look at how science functions, then there is one statement that is very, very important, and that is it needs to be reproducible. You know, it needs to be scientifically solid, which means it needs to be measurable. Well, the problem when you talk about measurable means that you can only work with electromagnetic energies. And as soon as you go outside that, or in the invisible worlds, as it's called, you know, then suddenly there is no way to measure. So you can say, in a sense, that as soon as you go into more esoteric or metaphysical subject, there is no verification that is accepted as being scientific. So that is why the funding for that is not present, with a very, very, very few exceptions. And now we get to alternative fundings, and you know, you see now there are institutions that are beginning to study that. But you know, it is still exceptional. So the majority is that what is measurable, that what is verifiable. That's one aspect. The other aspect is, as I said earlier, the funding. You know, if you need funds, you know, you try to go to something that is in your field of interest, but at the same time, you want it to be within the parameters of those who are funding you. And that is what the games are. Yeah. So there is, from a certain perspective, I can understand that, because one of the things that is in science is now coming. You know, quantum physics is forcing us to look at things from a different perspective, but still the general tendency is to avoid things like consciousness, because there's no way you can measure it. And you know, one of the, for me, most fascinating things is that in quantum physics now we begin to understand that science claiming to be totally objective, that it doesn't exist. There's no true objectivity. It is all subjective. And that is, for a lot of scientists, not easy to accept. You know, and the other aspect that we also begin to realize is that the idea of something needs to be repeatable by other independent institutes. Well, they recently did a big study to see whether results, let's say, for the last 10 years, how much of that, you know, is still, you can say, repeatable by others. Well, maybe about 60%, 70%. And in certain kinds of research, it's even, you know, basically 60, 70% can't be repeated. So why is that? It's because our consciousness is influencing results. And that is a very tough thing for science, because it means that there's a lot that is a consequence of the way you think and the way you set up your experiments. You don't want to go there.
It sounds dangerous and it sounds very flighty at the same time. Yet I always was thought that, part of wanting to be a scientist was to push those limits, to find new technologies, to find new ways of doing things for the betterment of society in general.
Yeah, if you talk to people in person, they will agree with you. But as soon as they are in their institutions, they will be more careful in their statements. Yeah, for most of them. As I said, there are exceptions. For me, and that is the reason why you can say I stepped out of the formal science, for me, everything should be explored. And we should have an open mind. And we should not only use the logic mind and our instruments, but also give value to what is felt, what you feel, what you intuit. I know there is a danger in that, because you have to be careful that not everyone is just shouting something and say, this is my truth, and then say, this is the truth. No, you begin to understand that when you work with people in what the more esoteric metaphysical areas, that every experience has its validity. That doesn't mean that every experience is telling you the truth. It is when you are looking at many different experiences, you look for patterns. And that is actually pure science. Basically, the patterns, statistically, you search for patterns in science as well. So why don't you do that in also more metaphysical, esoteric subjects? And that is, in that sense, you're absolutely right. Why is that not happening? Well, then you go back to financing. Yeah, unfortunately, money is still a pretty powerful determining factor.
How much are we missing out, in your estimation, as to how we could improve mankind, humankind, history, and what we actually know about what's going on if we're not pushing the limits?
A tremendous amount. The majority. What we are studying, and I put it simplistic now, right? We are basically looking at, in science, as what you can call pure physical aspects. How does the physical world functioning? Well, the physical is only a small part. Now, that what we, with our eyes, see, which is that what is the guiding principle in looking around for subjects to study, we know scientifically that it is a fraction of what exists. Even science knows that when you look at electromagnetic energies, which is what we basically are looking for, is a very small percentage of the total energy matter of the universe. And then we talk about 0.005%. So if you ask me, how much do we miss? Well, 99 point whatever percent. And that is a shocking realization. So we will never understand the universe if we are limiting ourselves to solely physical things. And we need to have the courage to say, we as mankind as a whole have a responsibility to go beyond that what you can say institutions are dictating to us. And say, let's go beyond. And let's not wait for science till they are getting there. No, let's try to find alternative financing and get people who are interested to explore in different ways.
I understand that, and I can appreciate that. How much, maybe not externally, but internally, the people that you talk to, the fellow scientists that you have conversations with, how open-minded are they to what you are studying?
Well, let me put it very simple. When I started in this direction, all my friends were either scientists or in the medical profession, doctors. I lost them all. So that says something about openness. Now I'm beginning to find other people, and there are a lot of wonderful people around, don't get me wrong. But no, those who are more in the traditional, yes, I lost my friends. Yeah. It was a very, very tough phase, to be honest with you. I don't regret it, because true friends would have accepted. So apparently they were not as good friends as I thought they were. And I'm totally happy with the people that I'm meeting now, and there is so many people that are looking now for alternative ways to look at the world, because they understand that in the old days, we included spirituality and the physical. That was a normal approach, And I mean, I don't want to blame Descartes, but actually he used to blame. Descartes says, "I think, so I am." So we went into that what your mind is doing. So you are not allowed to feel anymore. There's no self. Intuition seems to have no value. But now there are also scientists that study phenomena that is called extrasensory, and they have scientifically proven that those phenomena exist. And that remote viewing is something that is simply something that everyone can learn, and that consciousness apparently is not restricted at all to a fixed place and a fixed time. So there is change going on, and my passion is to be not to limit myself. I dare now to throw out anything, and I said, okay, let's see what other people are thinking. Let's feel together into things and see what patterns are coming up when we are working on certain things. And when you look into earth energies using a methodology that is called dowsing, that obviously is working in certain instances without any shadow of a doubt. And there are a lot of tricky things around that also. I admit that.
As we start to move towards your current studies here, what made you all of a sudden decide or flip that switch that learning more about the esoterics and those hidden scientific gems was the path that you needed to go? Was there a life-altering event that happened that pushed you in that direction, or was it just curiosity?
Well, the curiosity has always been there, but, there was a life-changing event, yes. My first wife got cancer, and she died from it when she was 43. And one of the things that I realized in that time talking to specialists and others is how little we actually knew. And in that time, there was one book that came out that was talking about the emotional condition of people and how that affected the increased chance for certain patterns of cancer. And that was actually for me, that book was actually for me the key. The interesting thing is that she was pretty sick, but she heard about the book and she told me to buy 6 copies and to give that to the oncologist and our home doctor and everything. So we handed out many of the copies to that. And it was interesting to see that some of them just pushed it aside and others say, wow, this is fascinating. I never thought about it, that could have an effect. And it is one of the reasons why I actually started to look at basically is why I start things like Reiki, with this working with life force energy, whatever term you prefer to call it. It is that energy what is available everywhere and flowing through everything, because everything needs life force in order to live. And it was learning to understand that certain places are not flowing through, and then the question is, what does that mean? So that is actually the main trigger for me. And I was initially, of course, you may understand, in my very emotional state, that I was almost obsessed to make sure that I found a solution that could help others. I now realize that that's not how it works, but at least it brought me on that path to look beyond, knowing that we are not only physical, we are also emotional beings, we are mental beings, we are spiritual beings. Every tradition will tell us about those 4 aspects of human beings. You cannot understand a human being only from the perspective of the physicality. So you need to include things like emotions, and you need to include the way people think, your belief structures. And you need to look at, the spiritual aspects, and that includes also things like energy, consciousness, and all that other stuff. So it was almost inevitable that as soon as I was going on that path, that I was going deeper into trying to understand the human energies. And I have one belief, that I started with. And that belief is that the Earth actually has to be a supportive system, because every being that lives on Earth, every atom in our body, in a tree, in a plant, in an animal, they all come from the Earth, right? Because we absorb it either directly, like plants, or via plants or animals in our case, and depending on what we eat. But it nonetheless comes from Mother Earth. And so I realized I need to look at Mother Earth and those energies in order to understand who we are. And that is how the whole thing started, So that is why I began to look both at human energies and Earth energies. And the crystal skulls came later. But that were the two main things that I started with. Mm-hmm.
What did you find that intrigued you?
What intrigues me most?
Yeah, well, when you started the study, obviously there was something that caught your attention that made you think there's something to this, something very real that needs to be further studied.
Well, as soon as you develop a little bit more of a sensitivity for energies, and you dive into, as soon as you begin to look at it, you dive into things like what is meridians, and what are chakras, and what is an aura, and, the standard basic things. Right. One of the things that is a problem is how can you learn to sense into them? Well, there are all kinds of trainings for that. And some people will say that's all woo-woo. It's not. Our brain has the ability to translate energies into information. That's what it's made for. And we sometimes think that it is not true, but we realize that every kind of energy is the carrier of information. Well, we are talking right now, So the radio is a send and receive system, right? So it is the waves, the frequencies that carry the information from one place to the other. So you need ones that is coding it into the flow through the wires, and something that is decoding it at the other end. Yeah? So we are working with that all the time. And as soon as you say, this is also what happens within our system, people say, well, really? Yeah, really. Yeah. So every frequency is a carrier of information. So when we realize that, and we begin to tune and feel into the different frequencies, we by definition are tapping into information. The problem is, how do you translate it? Because there's no instrument that's doing it. For electromagnetic frequencies, right. Yes, but for the more subtle things, you don't.
And well, Jaap, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Jaap Van Etten. We are getting into the crystal skulls coming up here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters in the beautiful Canadian tundra. Reminder to all of you that if you want to check out all of our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button on the website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Jaap Van Etten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and we are going down this awesome road that we've never really taken before. We're looking into the crystal skulls. Yes, Jaap's website is crystalskulls.com. I highly suggest you check it on out.
It's not.
No?
It's not crystalskulls.com. It's limerantus.com.
Oh, that's right.
Crystalskulls.com is from another organization then.
Wow. Okay, well, I got your name and your bio from there, so I blame me.
Really?
Blame me.
No, that's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, go to the other website because apparently I wrote it down wrong. I apologize, Jaap. But welcome back to the show.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited today for the next round, so to speak. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of crystal skulls, when did you first learn about these?
I can tell you that very exactly. In 1994, I was still living in the Netherlands and was my first real trip to the United States and to the Southwest. And part of that was going to Sedona because I was already studying Earth energies, and I heard about vortexes in Sedona, and I had no clue what they were talking about because in Europe we call them ley centers. So I came here with the idea of figuring out what vortexes were. To be honest with you, at that time I did not figure it out. But on the, things are sometimes so funny. I was obsessed with buying a certain kind of book. It was actually a series of 3 books, and they were channelings. And I had 2 books, and I wanted to have the 3rd one. And the day before we were supposed to leave, somebody gave me a tip and said there is a woman that is basically selling them privately. You can try her. So I called her, and she said, yeah, I have the book. So we went over there, and she had all these crystals around her house. And I was into crystals, was really looking around. He said, and she looked at me, and she said to me, go and sit in that chair. Close your eyes. And don't open it. I just have a surprise for you. So I'm sitting in this chair, feeling stupid, to be honest with you. And I hear her going out of the door and coming back in. And then she put something in my hands, which was heavy and cold. And at the moment she put it in, I start crying. So I had no idea what I had in my hands. I felt very embarrassed that I'm sitting there as a grown-up guy sobbing for something that I even don't know what the heck it was. And I had been sitting there for half an hour sobbing. And then finally I could open my eyes and I look at this ugly crystal skull. How can anybody like a crystal skull? And why the heck did I be so emotional about it? But I've learned one thing by that time is whenever this kind of things happen, there's something like a message. So I needed to explore this. So as soon as I was back in the Netherlands, I went to the guy that I bought most of my crystals from, and I said to him, you have to sell me a crystal skull. He said, what? The man was 30 years into crystals, and he didn't know what a crystal skull was. He said, well, the only thing I can do, I can ask my providers from crystals in Brazil if they know about it. And I said, and they said yes. And I ordered that I wanted a clear quartz, human-sized crystal skull, be carved. And meanwhile, waiting for that one, I started my research. And the only thing that I learned was that there are a couple of skulls around. And that actually the one that I had in my hands was actually not an ancient skull, as they were called. It was a recently carved skull. So it makes me even more wondering, why did I have this emotional reaction? So at that time, there were only a few crystal skulls known, like the Mitchell Hedges was a famous skull, and I have heard about Max, but that was about it at that time. And I explored everything that I could find on crystal skulls because I wanted to figure it out. And it took almost 2 years before I got the clear quartz crystal skull that's standing here in the circle in this room where I'm sitting, which I doped Sam. And I have been working with that skull and, not understanding and getting more and more. And as I mentioned to you before the show, we have more than 250, 60, I don't count them anymore, but I know it's more than that. All in an attempt to understand why I was so emotional. Well, do I have the answer? Yeah, to some degree. But in that process of searching, we also started to do meditations with people, and we do that now for 15 years. 15 years, every week we have a crystal skull meditation in our house. And people from, up north in Canada to the south and from Europe and Australia, everywhere have been coming to visit because, I've written 2 books on crystal skulls, and people get to know and hear about it, find on the internet that you can come when you're in Sedona, you can come to the crystal skull meditations. Now, in that process of working with people, I've tried to figure out, what is so special about crystal skulls. You can go to, for example, quartz, or you can go to the different materials, and there are all kinds of books written about that, and it says this material is doing that for you, and that material is doing that for you. But it didn't give me an answer about crystal skulls per se. And I came across that beautiful story about the legend of the crystal skull. And whether the legend is true, we don't know. That's why we call it a legend. But it is you can say, a more or less accepted story. And if you really are into numbers and understanding esoteric principles, you may understand that the number 12 is very sacred. And according to the story, there were 12, and that is what indigenous people call their ancestors, comes from the stars. There were 12 star nations that gave information to the humans on Earth, that contained information that would help them when they were ready to understand what their purpose was of being on Earth. That's the legend. I was fascinated by that because by that time I was into consciousness and, why the heck are we here on this planet? What are we doing here? So it's a very valid question. So and apparently, according to the legend, crystal skulls contain an answer. Well, all the ancient and old crystal skulls are made of quartz. Well, and we know now scientifically that you can put a tremendous amount of information into quartz. In any kind of crystalline structure that is regular, and you can put it, in modern times we put lasers in that, but lasers is nothing more than a certain frequency that you put in. It's an electromagnetic frequency, and our thoughts are also electromagnetic frequencies, so you can program with your thoughts also information into crystals. And that is what, a lot of people do when they do crystal healing. And this is a valid way, not that everything they do in and of themselves is valid, that's a different story. But the principle, yes. So for me, it made sense. You can put information into, specifically in quartz. You can do it in every stone and in every kind of crystalline material, but you need to have a pretty regular structure to be able to retrieve it, at least when you use scientific methods and you use lasers to put it in. You need to have the same frequency to get it out. And if there is all kinds of disturbances, of course, your reading back is disturbed as well. But I think with thoughts, it's a little bit different. And how that all works, I still don't know. The only thing that I do know is that we have quite an impact through our intentions on the vibrational state of crystals. And that is where our exploration really increasingly went to, you know. How can we understand, A, the effect that crystalline material has on us, and B, how can we learn to access information that is, you know, put into crystals, and in particular in crystal skulls. So that was, you know, you can say that out of my interesting experience in Sedona was actually the main questions that came forth out of that. And I'm still working on that, you know, so, well, 94, and we are now 26 years later. And I am not claiming I have the answers, but I have definitely several answers. And the more I actually work with them, I begin to understand that the key factor is, and you can call that activation, that's the term that I personally use, everything that you bring your awareness to is affected by your awareness. You can say that awareness is actually directing energy, yeah, your intent. Every thought that you have is setting something in motion, because every thought is a reflection of something in your consciousness, and it directs energy, right? So we forget that, you know, and we often forget that, you know, when we are angry or frustrated, you know, then we affect our environment. You know, we affect other people, we affect our pets, we affect the tree that is in your yard, and a lot of people say, that's nonsense. Well, this is simply science. Every vibration affects every other vibrational system, and there are resonance, and there are systems that are totally out of whack and not in resonance. So, if we understand that your consciousness, whether it is through a thought or with conscious intent, is having an effect on other things, it makes it more logic that you can affect the vibration of crystalline material. And all crystal healing is based on that principle. So I got fascinated with, what does that mean to activate? Well, as I mentioned, we can train our brain to translate information. Yeah? And as a consequence, we can see and learn to see things beyond the normal seeing with our eyes. You know, and you can call it extrasensory perception. I call it simply a different sensory perception, because everybody can learn it. So if we train ourselves and we train our brain going to different brain frequencies that are better in translating information, especially the higher ones like gamma frequency and hyper gamma frequency, then we can learn to understand information better and can begin to piece things together. Now, do that with a number of people together, supporting each other. Do that with a tremendous variety of people over time, and you begin to gather information and begin to see patterns. And in that whole process, I begin to understand that there is a, you know, when you have any object, it has an energy field around there. Even the chair you're sitting on, it's a very limited field, but it has a field. If you go to a tree, it has a much larger field, and our field is called an aura. So you can say every living being has an aura, but even those that we call dead things have an aura. Now, if you learn to look at those auras, what you see is that living materials, and for me, crystal is a living material, it's from Mother Earth. Mother Earth is alive. They don't have a homogeneous field around them, like, for example, a chair or other things. They have a layered system. Yeah? It is like, the best way is like you see them in layers. It is not a constant homogeneous field. And you can learn either dowsing, pendulum, whatever people use, or you can train your brain and your perception system to see them. Yeah?
Hey, Jaap,
so for those who don't believe,
we're getting a lot of background noise on your phone there. I don't know if you're moving around or something, or maybe your headset kind of clipped out of the phone or something like that.
Is it better now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay. So what happens is that when you look at those different layers, then you learn that the layers, the number of layers is saying something about activation. And everyone can train themselves to become aware of that. So we start using that as a measurement of the degree of activation. And the more you activate, the more of the potential of the information becomes accessible. And that is the journey that we are on. We're beginning now to pick up increasingly information, different people that are in the training, information from crystal skulls. And I think it's actually a fascinating journey to do that. We are not yet, reading the information of crystal skulls like a book, but we begin to pick up increasingly information. And I think that at a certain moment, we will be able to understand if there is any truth in the legend, that there was information that was presented to mankind in order to, you can say, develop our awareness in such a way that we can truly shift into a new world. And that is what a lot of indigenous people are talking about. That we are now at the end of the fourth world, like Hopi and Mayans and many others, but it's also in the Kabbalah, right? That there are four worlds and that we are moving into the fifth world, a new world. That this information could be helpful in moving into this new world. I don't know whether it's true, but I like to believe there is a truth in that, because I think that we are on a journey of expanded consciousness, and that crystal skulls are tools to help us on that, in that process.
So when you were holding one of these crystal skulls, because you've held everything from the ancients to ones that you can pick up at your local metaphysical store these days, what's the difference between something ancient and the energy that it has there comparatively to one that is, say, new on a store shelf? And we only got about 4.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour.
I will talk quick. No, what the difference is that the ancient ones have been used. And as a consequence, they have been, more activated, and that makes that they are a little bit more accessible with respect to information. So they contain information. If you buy one in the store, it is like you have a book that needs to be written. So if you want to explore for yourself what crystal skulls are doing for you and what you can do with them, it is nice to have an unwritten book. You write your own book through your own experiences by bringing them to certain places, sacred places as they are called, or doing meditations with them and compare, your journey with your crystal skulls with that of ancient skulls, and that is how we learn. So I think it's very important to have both. There were already, you can say, there is a history, there is a story, there is already information, versus the unwritten ones that allows you to truly explore what it means to start working with crystal skulls as a preparation for accessing information. So that is for me the gift in the new ones, And there is also a gift in the old ones, the ancient ones. Both have their own function, but ultimately, when you have an ancient one or a new one, they all tap into the same information fields that I call the collective crystal skull fields, the information that is in all crystal skulls together.
Gotcha. So with that, are you able to draw the same information, the same energies out of, say, a newer skull comparatively to the older one?
No, because there is not so much information in the skull itself. And you need a certain level of activation in order to use the skull to tap into the field. So that's why I was talking about the process of activation that we have been studying now for 26 years, and we begin to understand it better and better, so that we can create crystal skulls that have a vibration that allows us to access a larger part of the field, and that is what we begin now to translate into deeper understandings.
So going back to the ancient one, as we have about 2.25 minutes here, when you hold that one, are you feeling the energy from the centuries that it's been around?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Some of them are more easy to feel. Others seems to have more, when they are not used. This is one of the problems of crystalline material in general. In order to access it, it becomes dormant if you don't use it for a while. So a lot of the ancient ones are quite dormant, and we begin to reactivate them so that they become more accessible. Yeah. So reading that, actually I have a small ancient ones in my hands right now, and I can to some degree read some of the information in them. Its history, where it has been, and you can learn. It's the same as when you have an object, you can tell what the object's history is. You can do that, of course, with crystal skull also. It's very fascinating to follow at least aspects of the journey that this little skull has gone through, from hands to hands with different shamans, and especially women in the beginning. I love that kind of things. It's really, really fascinating. Mm-hmm.
With a minute to go, what does it feel like?
It feels like, as I said, it's like learning to read a book in a different language. The language of energy is a language you need to learn. And that's why right now we are beginning to learn words, but we cannot make yet sentences. Yeah. So I compare it literally to learning a new language, and that means, it is the willingness, the training, and especially never to give up.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Does it translate to the person who is holding it or touching it? Is every message different?
Yes, because we have different brains. So, and
Gotcha.
we have different experience. So we translate in this limited translation that we in this time frame still can do. We of course translate the different aspects.
Right.
That's why it's so important to work together, because if you then share information, we begin to get a larger and larger picture.
Gotcha.
That's why we do this meditation. Right?
All right. Jaap Van Etten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue with the crystal skulls, consciousness, and so much more with Hour 2 right around the corner. Stay tuned.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hi, Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. In Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kissvein. Kissvein is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers, as well as reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight we are talking about crystal skulls, consciousness. Our guest tonight is Jaap Van Etten. His website, lemerantis.com. I highly suggest you check it on out. Jaap, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure.
It for sure is, Dave. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. And right before the break, we were talking about the crystal skulls. Now, there are very few of these ancient, large crystal skulls that are around this planet. Mm-hmm. Where did they come from?
Yeah. Well, most of them are coming from Central America. Yeah, most of them. So you can say the Mayans have, in general, be mostly connected with the crystal skulls. So most of them are coming from that area. Basically, you could say from Mexico south to Guatemala and that kind of places. But there are a few that are different, and it is also known that there are some coming from small islands in the Pacific. And the crystal skull called Synergy is one of them, and that is why that is called a Lemurian skull, because it is coming from the area that used to be, and that is the general belief, used to be Lemuria. All the other ones are believed to have more resonance with what people call the lost part of Atlantis. Well, From my perspective, they are not that old, but it doesn't really matter. As soon as we go into the discussions about how old is a skull, it is guessing. There's no written history. There is no recorded system that tells us about them. This the story. Some of the stories are from the people that have been passed on, and then you come into many generations. So they definitely are. Some of them are pretty old, and they could be indeed in the thousands of years. But the relevance is that they all contain information, and you can use them to tap into the information field that contains all information of all crystal skulls. But yeah, there are some around, and there have been quite some conferences where I was involved in, and it is always interesting to bring them together. It is one of those periods where they gather and you can feel the energies. You don't have to be all that sensitive to really realize that they radiate out energy. And that is what people experience when they walk into the door of this room, where all this whole circle of crystal skulls is. And if you go to lemorantes.com, you will find a picture of our circle. So it is quite fascinating to realize that people begin to become sensitive for this kind of energies. And I think the ancient people, for them, it's so difficult to understand really how people were thinking in the past. Because we try to interpret that with our current way of thinking, and I can guarantee you, we are way off. There's just no way that we can understand how even people a couple of 100 years ago were thinking, let alone thousands of years. And their thoughts are also brought into the crystal skull. So it's not easy to, even when you are sensitive for energies and you can translate to some degree, it's still, let's say, challenging to be clear about what the messages really are and what the information really is. So yeah, those ancient ones are definitely fascinating.
And when you are studying these, you're holding these, and you're picking up the energy, does it open up the mind to almost teleporting into other areas, into other timelines?
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. One of the things is that even a new crystal skull is an amplifier. It amplifies every experience. That's number one. Secondly, it affects the way our brain is functioning. If you regularly meditate with that, it literally speeds up the activation of the different brain waves. Not only the ones that we associate with meditation, like the theta and the delta frequencies. No, it also stimulates the possibility to learn to translate. I mentioned already the gamma and the hyper gamma frequencies. It is literally learning to rewire our brain to be able to translate more information. And well, crystal skulls are stimulating that. Now, they also help us to attune. We are not really trained usually to really connect with things. Our mind is like this jumping Mexican bean. We think about this and that. So to stay focused is for most people not that easy. If you have a crystal skull, it helps you to stay more focused because you have this skull in your hand and it can bring your awareness back to what you're dealing with. So there are a lot of things that are in addition beneficial of working with them. So meditating with them, even when you never really want to have information about the meaning of the crystal skulls, they nonetheless are stimulating so much of your qualities and your abilities as a human being that for that reason alone it's worthwhile to work with them. If some of people will maybe ultimately learn to translate, for others it's totally irrelevant. It improves the quality of their lives. I would say that is worth it in and of itself. So increasingly, looking at the effects that I see with people that are working with crystal skulls over longer periods of time, I see them changing. People who come here every week, many of them, over the years have changed so much. And that is because those frequencies are literally helping us to awaken more of who we really are. For me, that's the most important thing. Okay. For those who really are for information, great. It will come to them in the process. But improving quality of life, yes, I think that's worth it.
So how does the skull do that? I'm a little confused by that.
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay. Excuse me. So when you look, and I have to go to Mother Earth, the Earth itself. So the Earth is a crystalline being. Yeah, the rocks, the stones, the crystals, every crystal is coming out of the Earth. Yeah. So even when you are not, into the specifics of the shapes, every stone, every crystal, in and of itself, has a certain vibration. Yeah. That vibration is in combination with all kinds of other factors, and the fact that it is an electromagnetic system creates electromagnetic systems, but it also has a lot of subtle energies, as it's called. Yeah? That's what we can't measure, but that people who are a little bit sensitive can feel. So Mother Earth, as the indigenous people would say, is helping us to be who we are. We need to connect with her. I mentioned earlier that every atom is coming from Mother Earth. There's a lot of stories about we are becoming crystalline. I always found that a very funny comment because people interpret it in the most weird ways. But we are crystalline in nature. Everything is organized in a certain way, as if, we are different from the Earth itself. Yes, the structures are different, but we are all having the same atoms. Now, our system, as we function, is due to the way we are functioning in this world, is not optimal. That's why people feel sick, feel out of harmony, and we begin to understand this is not only physical, but it also has to do with our energies. Emotions is energy in motion. It is stuck energy in our system. So when you have those stuck energies, then things are not flowing and we become ultimately sick or dysfunctional. Sorry. So we begin to understand that, everything is vibration. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So the vibration means that we need to find other systems that helps through resonance to bring our system to the most optimal state. And that is what the crystals are doing. And that's why people for eons of times have used crystals for healing, even stones, And not only crystals, different stones have different effects. And that is what is coming back in our awareness currently, that we use the vibration that brings things in our system more in alignment. Yeah. So when things are more in alignment, we are no longer trying to, I call it functional surviving. In order to function in this world that is pretty challenging for a lot of people, you're basically moving to functional survival. So our brain is very busy with that. The more we are in harmony, the more you free up your brain to process things in different ways. So even from that rather logic perspective, you free up when you're more healthy, your brain to process other things like information. So we see that people are becoming more able to bring certain information systems together in a deeper understanding, right? So that is how crystals are working. Now, there is something funny with crystal skulls. I have been puzzled. What is the difference? Because if you have the shape of a dolphin, for example, it doesn't give the same effect as a crystal skull. And then we have to go to the idea of you can say, the symbol. The symbol of the crystal skull is tapping into, you can say, a consciousness field or an information field that by the ancient ones has been created. And when you create such a field, you can bring all kinds of keys in that one. So why the shape of a crystal skull? When you talk about information brought into crystalline material, and there are an infinite number of crystals, how would you ever recognize the crystals that contain information versus the one that don't? You give them a certain shape. So why the shape of a human skull? Well, to remind us that it's information. We need to process that. And how do we process information? Through our brain. So where is our brain? In our skull. So that's why the crystal skull form is chosen to remind us. Now, initially it were the ancient ones, but the ancient ones create a field, and the new ones help us to tap into that field in order to begin to access it. With all the beneficiaries that I just mentioned, through harmony, that makes that we function better. Does that make sense, if I put it that way?
Well, it does. I mean, it's hard to fathom, right? Because for many of us out there, we're still trying to figure out how this all works because it seems so impossible.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. That's what 26 years ago, I would say, you're absolutely right. With so many experiences in workshops, in meditation groups, in conferences, we begin to see it's different. It works. And, sometimes, Dave, it is not about going into our minds trying to grasp. Sometimes it is the willingness to go into the experience. And because if we try to grasp it with our minds, we do what a lot of scientists are doing. They want to go into that what is not measurable, and that nothing will change. We go back to the same thing that we start talking about in the beginning. No, it is important to be open for it and begin to explore. There's a saying from Nikola Tesla, which is one of the major scientists that still he has invented so many different things that people are puzzled about. And he made this interesting comment. He said, if science would be willing to study what you call subtle phenomena, they will make in 10 years more progress than in the hundreds of years of their existence. That's a pretty powerful statement. The clue is not in what we already know and how we measure things. The clue is in consciousness and energy that we don't yet understand. That helps us to understand this whole world that we live in from a totally different perspective. And then we are integrating, energies on a different level, not only restricted to electromagnetic energy, but also going to what we call the subtle energies. And don't think that science is not aware of it. David Bohm is a physicist that is, talking about two types of energy. And he said, basically, you see the world is manifested into form. And form is energy, right? And he calls that the explicit order. That what is already visibly there. He said, but what we haven't studied and what is an important factor is what he calls the implicate order. And the implicate order is that what is not yet manifested and is actually the subtle energy. And if you don't understand the subtle energy, you will never understand how we ultimately create the world as we see it around us. There are powerful statements. And you can push them aside to say, I can't wrap my brain around it as yet. True. But go into the experience, work with it. I have learned one thing. I couldn't wrap my brain around crystal skulls at all. From a scientific point of view, I thought that everybody was nuts about it. But yeah, I had my funny experience of my emotional reaction. So I kept looking for it. And I'm glad I never gave up. And the more I worked with them, the more I trained my system to become sensitive for energies, as I said, everyone can do that, the more information is coming through. And it's like, wow, that's how it works. And if you then hear other people talking about similar things, it's like, hey, we must be on to something. So that is my invitation to people. Don't believe me. Go and do your own exploration. But let's share with each other what our experiences are so that we can begin to get an understanding of that, what we cannot measure with the standard instruments in absolute terms. So that is actually my invitation. I can understand that you say I can't wrap my brain around it. But, we see it working. Yeah, I see it working.
But does it work for everybody?
If you're willing to train, yes. But, it's the same. We can all be a painter or draw, but not everyone is equally good. We all have our own unique gifts. So for some people, it may not be the path to go. For some people, it's something else that they need to use in order to develop some of their skills and their abilities. But there's one thing that I can guarantee you that works for everyone, and this is scientifically proven, and that is meditation. With or without a crystal skull, or a crystal, or whatever tool you use. And they are only amplifiers. They make it stronger. But they have measured the brain waves of monks that are meditating for I don't know how long. And there's a lot of research done nowadays. There's a lot of research. And you can go on the internet and look it up. We know that meditation is stimulating the brains. We know that. It's developing. We know that is one of the most important things. To be to actually not get a deteriorating brain. You need to stimulate your brain to become active. Otherwise, you get problems like Alzheimer's and whatever, dementia. You need to activate it. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is meditation. Yeah, it's pure science.
All right.
So go for it.
I want to get to a question here from Sparky in our chat room. She is asking, have they ever figured out yet the technology that was used to create the ancient crystal skulls?
To some degree, yes, but there is also a lot of confusion around that. If you go into what science have been doing, they basically have debunked that the Mayans could have done it because they are not using tools. And when they see certain kinds of marks on the skull, they say, no, it can't be done by the Mayans. It must be done more recently. I think they're right in many cases. But there is also some that they have found they couldn't explain. And there are two that have been researched by both at the British Museum, and they also did some in Washington, and what was it? Another museum, Smithsonian Museum. And for certain ones, they really saw that there were marks and say they can't be old, and they have all kinds of proofs for that I truly believe. But there were two that didn't want to give comments on. Why do you not give comments on to a skull? Well, because they didn't fit into the scientific ideas. And they couldn't lie about it, because if you want to show the proof, okay, show me then your information. So, and it was actually Max, the skull Max, and the skull called Shannara.
I'm going to hold you right there, boss, because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jaap Van Etten, talking crystal skulls, consciousness, and everything awakening here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Stay tuned for more of the mighty SOR.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other: Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today. We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Reminder, if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you that you can check out while listening to the show. We've been talking crystal skulls all night with researcher, scientist Jaap Van Etten and his website. I love this website. It's a combination between Lemuria and Atlantis called lemurantis.com. So you can check that on out. Jaap, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I enjoy it, Dave. This is really cool. Yeah.
I want to get into the consciousness aspect of everything because everything we hear lately seems to be the focal point surrounding consciousness. You know, we're looking into UFOs and the ability that consciousness flies these craft. We're looking into consciousness with our own futures and how it affects our mind, body, soul. You know, with the crystal skulls and with the research you've done, how has consciousness come around to that?
You know, when you use the word consciousness, you know, there are so many interpretations on what that means because we use the word conscious also by being awake, right? Or you become conscious again after you had went to surgery and had anesthetics. That's not what I think consciousness is. I think consciousness actually is infinite. But we use a certain aspect of consciousness, and you can actually call that, I would prefer for that the word awareness. We are aware of a certain amount of infinite consciousness. Now, one of the interesting things is I use nowadays the term consciousness construct. Now, I think the Earth is a consciousness construct. You know, we come into this you can say construct, and there are all kinds of terms that you can use. You can also use the term morphogenetic field. There's a certain potential and conscious potential within this world. And we are, you can say, in a sense, incarnating into this world. We are exploring what that means. So the story of human beings is actually the story of the physical aspect of our beingness, while at the same time we have you can call it a spiritual essence, a soul, depending on what your background is. You can give it all kinds of words. High self is a term that is being used. And that is, you can say, actually our real consciousness. Is that aspect that tries to bring through this physical system the awareness of why we decided to come and live on this particular planet in this time frame. Yeah. So consciousness is actually the weaving energy throughout the whole universe. In a sense, we create from our consciousness. So, we can endlessly discuss who was the creator of the universe, but that is actually not relevant. What is relevant for us is that we have decided to come into this planetary system that we call Earth or Gaia, and we have a role to fulfill, you can say. What I mean with a role to fulfill is we have a unique soul or spiritual essence or high self that is trying to bring that uniqueness through this physical system. Now, the physical system itself has a mind, and that mind determines how much of that consciousness that we are actually aware of. Or you can say it differently, how much we actually use. And then you go back to our brain. Our brain is translating consciousness, information, it's always the same thing from my perspective, into an understanding, into an awareness. It is, for us, not easy to grasp, that we are, in a sense, unlimited in our consciousness. Because from our physical perspective, this is where we talk from our physical perspective, we are limited. Because we have the vibration of a physical system in a physical construct that we call the Earth. And that is a limited perception of, you can say, infinite consciousness, or even from our higher consciousness that we have. So we are wrestling with that. And that's why there is an infinite number of ways that we talk about, and we call that expanding our consciousness. How do we do that? And some people use religion for that. Some people use esoteric methods for that. Some people use crystal skulls for that. Other people connect with Mother Earth or talk to the star nations because they believe that they are our ancestors, and so on and so forth. So it is actually one of the most confusing things, consciousness, that word. So that's why I define where I come from, because otherwise people say, well, what does he mean? So this is how I perceive it. I'm not saying this is how it is. I say this is how I perceive it. But it helps me to understand a lot of things that I see around me. And it helps me understand my process. And I do a lot of counseling and healing work with people. And it helps me to guide those people on their journey so that I can give the feedback that people are asking me to give them. And so awareness is a better word of what we daily experience. Consciousness is far more potential that we are trying to tap into increasingly, to become increasingly aware, and ultimately to transcend into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world in which we live. Does that help if I define it this way?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question coming in from our chat room from Hadarak, who is saying his wife has a huge collection of skulls. Names come to her for each one. How does this work?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are searching for the names. And in a sense, you can say it's your connection with a crystal skull. And even though you're not aware maybe of all the aspects of it, that is the difference between conscious and awareness, is that when you make your connection, you experience a certain vibration. And the name is like a vibration that you use to make a deeper connection with your skull. Yeah. So sometimes it comes intuitive, sometimes it flares up in people's mind. Some people know it right from the moment they buy it. It is all different for different people. And in the beginning, we gave a lot of names to that also because it came up when we were meditating, and both my wife and I had our sometimes different names for the different skulls because we connect with them in different ways. So ultimately, we decided on one name just to keep it more in harmony. But we have also a lot of skulls that we have not given a name because at a certain moment we got too many and we didn't know anymore. It became less important. But I know that there are people that give every skull a name. But I even know people who give a name to their car. Yeah, and it is their way of connecting with the essence of their car. And people can say that's ridiculous. Yes, you can think that, but it's actually a way of connecting with something. Yeah. So the name is a vibration that helps you to make a deeper connection.
Okay. That sounds absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Haderach has gone on to say, she said that some of them even do not have names, so I guess that makes sense, with that. For those of us who are having that experience, that would be kind of interesting to learn, for sure. In regards to the aspect of opening up and trying to build that type of spiritual connection that goes along with everything from crystal skulls to our own personal experience and vibration, a lot of people meditate, a lot of people use candles, a lot of people use different types of ways to try and manifest their own mortality, their own ability to grow spiritually. With so many ways out there, is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? Do we even know anymore, or is it all up to oneself?
But basically, the standard answer for me is we need to learn to follow our heart. The answers are not in the mind. Because the mind, that's the way I define it. The mind is the total summation of all experiences that we have. So basically, the mind is oriented towards the past. So you cannot actually grow through the mind. You need new impulses. Otherwise, you're actually reorganizing the old in order to go to something new. But, there's a lot of research done on the brain and the heart. And the interesting thing that is discovered is that the brain, and this is again science, the brain in the heart receive information before an event is actually happening. And this is really, really researched. And because researchers didn't believe it, it has been repeated and repeated and repeated. The results were always the same. So that means that the heart is actually functioning beyond space and time, while, the brain in our guts is directly related to our experiences, and the brain in our head is trying to bring it all together into an understanding, because it also gets information from our five senses and from our extrasensory perceptions. So all that information comes into this brain in our head, and that needs to translate it into all kinds of information. Yeah. So the heart is actually the answer to a lot of things, but we are not trained to do that. So when we are searching for what is our way to grow and to expand, we need to learn to listen to our heart, because that part can tell us. That's also our direct connection to, you can say, your spiritual essence or your soul or whatever term you prefer. So from the mind to the heart is a very, very, you can say, almost new agey term, but it is very essential at the same time. Very, very essential. So is there one method? No, we are unique people. We are all unique. We are, it would be so wonderful if we are not trying to copy somebody else's way. Now, you listen to other people to pick up that what is relevant for you. You don't try to believe the same things. You don't try to copy the same behavior, because all of that is moving away from who you really are. It is about the willingness to search who are you. And this is a lifelong process. But at the same time, it's a fascinating process. That is understanding and exploring your consciousness through the experiences you have and through training your system to listen to your heart. And the more we train it, the clearer the answers will become, because there is a direct link from our heart brain straight into our head brain, in the same way as there's a direct link from our brain in our guts straight into the head brain as well. So we are so used to think that the brain is only in the head. Yes, it's the biggest part. Now, there are billions of neurons there that all are linking together in ways we are not even understanding completely. And, there's all this saying that we use only 10% of our brain. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting statement, and that every neurologist will say nonsense, because we see them all firing, but it doesn't mean that we use all the frequencies at which they can function. That we go back to the brain frequencies from that is opening all kinds of different possibilities of translation and awareness. So we are not used to think in the terms of the three brains. And we need to do that, because only then we begin to understand. People don't know that we have hundreds of millions of neurons in our intestinal tract. Yeah, there's a huge brain there. And it knows, it remembers. They have now discovered it's doing exactly the same thing as the brain in our head. Yeah, same neurons, same systems that you find in the head is happening there, and the same neurotransmitters, everything. So it is important to realize that. And when we talk about a gut feeling, the intuition, the gut feeling, we actually acknowledge that there is a brain there that gives us information. Yeah, and it is actually, you can say, the intuitive knowing about how to function in this world comes actually from the brain in our gut. Yeah, that's where the information comes from. The intuitive knowing how to function on the spiritual level is coming from the heart, and the brain in the head needs to bring that all together into how you as a person are functioning in this world, both as a physical and as a spiritual being, because that's what we are. So you can say that the brains are actually showing us that we actually are a combination of two different beings, a physical being and a spiritual being. And you can say consciousness is the way those two can work together, allowing our essence, our consciousness to be expressed into this world. And that is our whole life. That's our whole life work. And we have developed an endless amount of ways and endless amount of belief structures around it that we call religion, and we call it, you say, spiritual experiences. And nowadays we do yoga and meditation. All of that has the same function. The function is to learn to understand who we are and how we can allow those two aspects of ourselves to work together in such a harmony that we create joy, happiness, love, abundance in our lives.
Jaap Van Etten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking consciousness right now. In regards to dimensions, can our consciousness, move within different dimensions at the same time?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How does that work?
And it's doing, and from my perspective, it's doing it. The consciousness that we really are is a consciousness that is expanded, that can go and travel into all kinds of worlds, both within this one and outside of it. The problem is, can we be aware of it? And we go back to the same thing, And then we go back to what I said earlier about training the brain to be able to translate more and more and more. Yeah. The problem is not consciousness. We are consciousness beings, But the problem is, how can we become aware of that what our consciousness is knowing, so that we ultimately begin to understand who we really are than who we have learned to believe that we are. We are so limited. And then that limitation, and I hope I'm not stepping on toes, but it starts already at the moment that we are born by our parents who have a limited understanding of this world that begins to program us from the very, very beginning that we are opening our little eyes when we are just born. And then we are put in a school that is a fixed system to try to prepare us to attune and to be a functional unit into a certain limited system that we call society. So we are limited from the very beginning. We are not allowed to truly unfold our abilities and qualities because we are put into this matrix of form from the very, very beginning. And yes, things are beginning to change, but we have to be honest to ourselves. Everything is to try to make us fitting into that what, let's say, governments and institutions are believing that we need to fit into, and to make us obedient, functional units. We are not truly exploring who we are. Our consciousness is so far more expanded, but we are not aware of it because we have not trained our system, especially our brains, enough to have that awareness. So I wish that we had the different school systems from the very beginning. In my dreams, I have my dreams. I see a society where children are allowed to develop their own uniqueness so that they are not limited by being pumped full with often not that useful information, but to explore who they are, where they do meditation, where they do, certain kinds of yoga, and learning to understand how the system really can grow into that optimal state. I dream about that. We are far from that in this moment. But anytime, we can make a choice and say, okay, I may have been grown up in a system that tried to put me into a certain model, but I can now choose to say, no more limitations. I'm going to explore. I'm going to go beyond anything that I've ever believed is possible. And that is what you can say the true journey of a consciousness, where we suddenly open doors into worlds that we cannot even imagine right now. And not only do I believe in it, this is what I see people, especially the ones that we work with, doing now, increasingly doing. And yes, we still have a way to go, but isn't it fun to simply say, let's explore together, let's share together, because our consciousness can do so much more. But let's be stimulating each other to go on that kind of journey.
We've got about 1 minute here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Jaap Van Etten is our guest tonight. As we embark on that journey, does it have to be a spiritual one? Do we have to be connected with our own spirit and consciousness to do that? Or is it something we find along the road?
Well, in a sense, when you are willing to explore who you are, you can say you find it along the road. But, we pretty quickly will understand that we are spiritual beings, so it's already in us. It's actually to allow it to come into our awareness. And, it is every journey, if you truly want to explore who you are, will lead to a deeper understanding of who you are. And that is that we are actually spiritual beings having a human experience. Yeah. It's inevitable that you come across that.
Right. Jaap, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we're about to wrap up 2 hours of Spaced Out Radio. Hour number 3, right around the corner. We're going to continue the consciousness talk. Get to your questions as well if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter. We would appreciate that. And we'll just learn more about the Earth's energies, human energies, metaphysical ecology. Lots to talk about with Jaap coming up next on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 3.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. I want to say hello to everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kistvein. Kistvein is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce Jaap Van Etten. He's got a great website, lemurantis.com, if you want to check it on out. That's a combination between Lemuria and Atlantis. And we've been talking everything from crystal skulls to consciousness. Let's get into some portals here in just a moment. But I do have a question for you coming from Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio from Andrew. Yep, and it is, Yep, what is your opinion of the Hollywood interpretation of crystal skulls? For instance, the 2008 movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull directly links the artifacts to extraterrestrials. What's your thoughts?
Good question. Yeah. The interesting thing is that when you look at that movie and you have this interaction when he meets his son and he starts talking about the crystal skulls, he's actually giving correct information about the Mitchell Hedges skull. But then he goes actually at the end where you go to the legend of the 12 crystal skulls, and you see that then, of course, you need to put it into a movie, but the idea of the legend with the 12 and the 13 that brings it all together, that is also correct. So the movie in and of itself, although it needs to, of course, to sell tickets, has some very correct statements. Now, if you look into the aliens, they have chosen a particular alien race. According to the traditions, there are actually 12 different aliens involved. You know, and they use the word aliens loosely. I like to call them, like the indigenous people, more the star nations or our star relatives. But it is the same basic principle. The recognition that crystal skulls have a link to our space brothers and sisters that give information to us. And, you know, we have to realize that we are basically coming from the stars. We are all, the souls are not originating from Earth, they came from the star system. And that is what in many esoteric traditions are trying to tell us, you know. So yeah, I like that aspect of the movie. Was it a good movie? Well, everybody has their own interpretation, you know, of that one.
All right. Let's move on here to portals, because a lot of people that we talk to in this show, and even myself included, have a real interest in dimensions and portals. You know I probably look at portals differently than what you do, because I think there's a lot of difference going on here. All right. I think of David Paulides with the missing 411 cases, that a lot of people who just seem to vanish and disappear are being, or walking, I should say, maybe riding their bike through these strange portals and going into a different timeline where everything is A-okay on their end, but on our end, they're gone. What's the difference between portals on the way I look at it comparatively to how you look at it?
Yeah, so most people talk about, when they talk about portals, they actually talk about time-space differences. Yeah, cracks in time, doorways into other time periods, or even in other dimensions. You know, there are, you know, some of them are known as disturbing areas. Some are known as areas where that spontaneously can happen for reasons we don't understand. You know, we have here in the Sedona area, we have some nice examples there. So the government has bought a ranch called the Bradshaw Ranch, because there are all kinds of, you can say, time-space anomalies occurring, you know, and yeah, we call that also portals. Well, we use the word loosely. You can also say the portals are doorways. So, yeah, there are a lot of fascinating things. And I know also that people have been trying to open doorways which have created time-space distortions, you know. And the most famous one, of course, is the one that have been opened in, I think it was 1947, after which all this spacecraft only were appearing, you know, like the Roswell and many other accidents. But it is actually known that it was a portal that was opened, or actually a time-space distortion that was created by Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons, actually, both students of the famous black magician, right? So it is that kind is a kind that I personally do not do so much studies on, because a lot of them have a lot of unpleasant side effects. Yeah, and I see people playing with that. There is also here in the Sedona area, there was a time-space distortion that went for many, many, many miles, and the Bradshaw Ranch is the remnant of that. But there is also an area that people have trying to work with that and use black magic on it, and it created a mess. And that area is still disturbed, very, very unpleasantly disturbed. So it is an area that I don't like to go in, because I see people dabbling into it, and I see a lot of problems cropping out of that. Many of those time-space distortions have to do with astral openings into astral worlds. And not all the beings, there are beautiful astral beings, but not all of them are pleasant, and some of them are actually really unpleasant. So in addition to that kind of what you can call portals or doorways or time-space openings or deformations, there are the portals that you can say exist between different systems, between star systems. The Earth has a lot of portals that tap into many different star systems, and the ancient people knew about it. If you go and learn, either to dowse or to be sensitive, what you see is that if you go to, and Sedona is a very beautiful example, we have a lot of these little ruins from the time of the Pueblo people, and I haven't found any of those ruins that didn't have a vortex, which is a place where energy moves between the Earth and a field, and a portal. And the portal is the connection between the Earth and a star system. Now, those portals are actually, this is my interpretation, because when you look at the stories that the indigenous people are telling, and they have star knowledge conferences in which they talk about mostly 6 type of portals to the star nations that they call their ancestors. And they talk then about the Pleiades, about Sirius, about Arcturus, about Alpha Centauri, about Orion, and about Andromeda. They believe that those 6 are for them the most important ones because that is where their ancestors came from. So, for example, the Mayans believe that they originated in the Pleiades. Yeah? If you go to the Hopi, they have a very strong connection to Orion. And if you begin to study portals, and that's again, I mentioned in an earlier discussion that working with energies is like learning a language. When I started with portals, I had no clue. It started with feeling, hey, this is similar and that is different. And then you talk to people, and then you talk to indigenous people. And slowly, these words and understanding certain energies begins to give you some clues, some information. And in no way am I claiming that I am never wrong. Absolutely, I may make mistakes because we are exploring an unknown kind of energy. There's not much a reference to find. But the indigenous people, they talk about that. And it was interesting to give you an example how far that goes. Jeannie and I were teaching in Taiwan in 2005, I think it was. And there was a professor at the university that at a certain moment began to understand what I was doing about different vortexes and portals. And he had a friend that really wanted me to come over and check on a specific place on his piece of land. And in exchange, we were spoiled with a wonderful meal and some nice gifts. So it was very attractive to go over that. But anyway, he brings me to this point, and he asked me, what is this? And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I tell him that, based on what I at that time knew, that this is a portal to the Pleiades? So I formulated it in this way. If I would be in the United States with the indigenous people, I would say, this is a place to connect with your ancestors. So the professor translated it in Chinese to the guy who owns the land, and these men start jumping up and down, and it's like, why is he getting so excited? So then he asked me, whether I would give it a name, and I said, well, if you really ask me, I would say the Pleiades. Well, he had a document that was a translation of an interview with the last shaman of the tribe that used to live in Taiwan. And there's no tribe anymore. They all are gone. But that was the last interview. It was in if I remember correctly, 26 or 27, something like around that time. And there was a woman, there was a woman shaman, and she said that this was the place they connected with their ancestors, and the name that they give was translating into the Pleiades. And it was, for me, such a beautiful confirmation. It's not proof, but it's a beautiful confirmation. And I've had more of that kind of experiences that is helping you to learn the language of the portals in the same way as there is the language of the energies of the crystal skull and the language of the energies of the earth and the different grid systems and lines and vortexes. It is learning, and you need to do that with other people. So I'm doing this with other people. And what I found is that, for example, if you look at the time of the Pueblo people, which lived in the Sedona area between 750 to 1425, that they use, that all the portals that I find in the ruins are exactly the ones that are mentioned by the current indigenous people during the Star Knowledge conferences. They're one of the 6. So it is very fascinating. But if I go, for example, to the Netherlands, then all the portals are in ancient pagan sites, which is where now a lot of the old churches are built on. And then I get different portals, amongst other to the star system of Cassiopeia, which is a very dominant one in the Netherlands. And if I go to Denmark, I see another dominant, and there's Alpha Centauri there. So it seems that people in different parts of the world had different connections with the different star systems. So you can almost, then you go into interpretations. And I don't know whether the interpretation is correct, but it could be that people whose soul originated from certain star systems were actually incarnating into people into certain parts of the world. And that's why there may be these differences, but I don't know. This is my guess. And there's no proof for that, of course, at all. But you can really go to sacred sites, and almost every sacred site has a vortex and a portal. So one of the interesting things is, and I don't want to go too far into that subject, but there are still our relatives, people that are living in different worlds, in one of the 4 worlds. So they're out of phase with our world, and they are connecting to different portals. Very, very, very fascinating. But yeah, that is a part of the portal. So those portals that I'm talking about are believed to be the portals that relate to our soul essence, to our spiritual essence, our soul essence. But, and this is maybe even more difficult, I think a lot of people may not believe that this is possible, but anyway, I'm sharing. There's another group that I only recently discovered, and I'm still scratching my head about that one. And as far as I understand, is that a part of the diversity of certain species is not coming from what we call evolution. It is induced. It is induced through energies that came through portals. So there are certain portals that have nothing to do with, us human beings, our ancestors. They are places where information comes in to create diversity. And so far, we found one that gives diversity in, for example, butterflies, and one in different hawks. So it's like giving information into the field that we call a morphogenetic field, so that the DNA can tap into that and then create diversity. So it's a very fascinating and very extensive subject that, we definitely can talk a lot longer about. Yeah.
It sounds very complex that's even possible. Maybe. But if we truly believe that consciousness is infinite and that, our idea about the world as it is a very limited one, and that there are all kinds of connections, then maybe it is far more possible than we think. Even NASA has recently discovered that there are connections between the different star systems. So now it's even science is beginning to see that.
So it's not that far-fetched. And interestingly, they call those connections portals. Yeah, there are certain programs that you may have heard. There are now certain programs where they have found ways to create portals and to move to other planetary systems. There are certain companies, there is more and more information coming out. What is this guy, Corey? I forgot his first name. He is talking about that, and you can find them on different programs, on Gaia and other stuff. There's a lot of information about that. I don't follow that so much in detail. But this is not something that is unique. We are aware that portals do exist. Yeah. And governments, for sure, are very interested in it. Mm-hmm.
Question from Andrew on Twitter, as we've got about 3 minutes left, and I want to get this in here. He says, the Phoenix, Arizona area has an incredible, healthy, energetic, and open sensibility about it. A casual glance at the obituaries demonstrates that the average age of death in that area is very old. Why is this area of the United States so unique, in your opinion?
For me, every area has its uniqueness. There are certain combinations of energies that are more supportive than other areas. But for whatever reason, we are, going to different areas that is supporting us on their journey. So if you really study the different earth energies, you see that certain concentrations make that certain areas are more stimulating for our overall health, for longevity and other things than other areas. Besides that, Phoenix is, because of its dry climate, even just pure based on physical things, is helping. Some people are thriving better in a climate which is less humid, and we all have our own preferences. Yeah.
Where do you see your studies going over the rest of 2020 and future here?
We are definitely working on bringing a lot of the information that we already have into courses and trainings. That is one of the things that we are now beginning to focus on more, because there's so much information that we want to share. Secondly, there is a continuous study on the different interpretations of certain grid systems to help us to understand more of the history of humans over time in the different worlds that are referred to in many different traditions. And we are at the same time working a lot on crystalline energies to see how we can support even more people on their spiritual journey by providing trainings in activating crystalline energy in such a way that it stimulates, us to connect deeper with who we really are. And that is where we are moving increasingly forward to in that direction.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Do me a favor as we get ready to say goodnight to you. Tell everybody where they can find your website and what kind of information they'll find there.
Well, actually, I have 3 websites. So it is the Lemurantis, that you already say, LEMURANTIS.com. And also, we have metaphysicalecology.com, because what we talk about is metaphysical ecology, how subtle energies and electromagnetic energies and all beings are interacting with each other, whether they are visible or invisible, measurable or immeasurable. And we have a non-profit organization called the Universal Center for Metaphysical Ecology. So that is ucme.international. All of them provide information, especially UCME.international provides a lot of articles that are free there that you can read. Yeah, and we are setting up in this moment, are developing a lot of different short clips to help people to understand our research and the backgrounds of what we are doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jaap, for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Very much appreciate your time. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio takes it home next.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today. A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for enjoying and tuning in tonight. Want to remind you that if by chance you miss most of this show or others, you could check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You could rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers, as well as reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news, let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the wacky, and the WTF. All our news can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Yeah. Japanese centurion Chietsu Watanabe was born in 1907. Japan's average life expectancy hovered around 40 years. More than a century later, that is more than doubled. Watanabe lived 3 decades beyond that. He died in his native portion of the country on Sunday at 112 years old. He was just named less than 2 weeks ago the oldest man on the planet. Yeah, at 112 years and 344 days old. At the February 12th ceremony, at which he was presented a certificate from Guinness that read the world's #1, Watanabe reportedly clenched his fist in triumph. Yeah, well, at the Guinness ceremony at the nursing home where he lived, Watanabe credited his lifelong journey to avoiding anger and smiling a lot. His daughter-in-law, Yoko Watanabe, testified to seeing him live those ideals. I've lived together with him for over 50 years, and I've never seen him raise his voice or get mad. Boy, I could use some of that. Yoko says. Now, he says, or she says, he's also caring. She says, when I was working on my patchwork hobby, he was the one who praised my work the most. I think having lived with a big family under one roof, mingling with his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, helped keep a smile on his face as well. Watanabe was born on March 5th, 1907, the eldest of 8 children. After finishing school and moving to Taiwan to work on sugar plantations, he met his wife Mitsu, and together they had 5 children, according to Guinness. He served in the Japanese military, but Watanabe's first passion appeared to be agriculture. He cultivated a small family farm of fruits and vegetables until he was 104 and trimmed and exhibited traditional Japanese bonsai trees well into his 100s as well. When he quit farming and gardening, he turned his love to sweets, including cream puffs and custards. Watanabe's cause of death was not given, though Yoko Watanabe says that he had difficulty eating and developed a fever and trouble breathing in recent days. The paper said he is survived by his 5 children, 12 grandchildren, 16 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. Kane Tanaka, who holds the record of the world's oldest person, celebrated her 117th birthday in January. Japan is regularly well represented among the record holders for the world's oldest. The country's average life expectancy is around 84, according to the data from the World Bank, among the highest in the world, along with Hong Kong and Switzerland. Unlike the United States life expectancy, which until recently had been on the decline, Japanese longevity has consistently grown, increased by more than 4 years over a quarter century. The vegetable and fish-heavy Japanese diet is commonly credited with lifelong and long lifespans. Research indicates a complex web of factors that contributes to longevity, including the affordability and accessibility of a country's healthcare system, daily activity, and environmental stresses. You might not know it, but if you wear a hearing aid, you are likely part of a 3D printing revolution. Almost all hearing aids nowadays are produced by using this technique, also known as additive manufacturing. 3D printing involves building up layers of material, plastic, metal, or resin, and bonding them together until eventually you have the finished product. Previously, production had been the sole preserve of modelers who finished each other's unique pieces by hand in a time-consuming and costly process, says Stefan Lahner, a senior vice president of Sonoma, which makes hearing aids. Now, once an order is placed, it just takes a few days for the finished product to be delivered, and the customer receives a hearing aid with individual fit. When 3D printing began to emerge 20 years ago, its boosters promised that it would revolutionize many industries, and in many ways, it has been a big success. In 2018, 1.4 million 3D printers were sold worldwide, and that is expected to rise to 8 million in 2027, according to Grandview Research. In terms of technology, there are constantly new applications discovered with new materials and machines unveiled each year, says Galina Spazova, senior research analyst for IDC Europe. The technique has revolutionized the dental sector, saying it's cutting the time it takes to make crowns and bridges, as well as making them more accurately. On a bigger scale, Boeing is now using 3D printed parts in its spacecraft, commercial and defense craft, while BAE Systems uses the technology to make components for the Typhoon fighter. There is even a 3D printer on the International Space Station where it is used to create spare parts, but many applications are still on a smaller experimental stage. For instance, food can be 3D printed. Oh my. Barcelona-based Nova Meat recently unveiled a plant-based steak derived from peas, rice, seaweed, and other ingredients. Using 3D printing allows the ingredients to be laid down in a crisscross of filaments which imitate the intracellular proteins in muscle cells. The strategy allows us to define the resulting texture in terms of chewiness and tensile and compression resistance, and to mimic the taste and nutritional properties of a variety of meat and seafood as well as their appearance, says founder Giuseppe Schianti, the founder of Nova Meat. Would you eat that? Would you? I don't know if I would. I don't know. That just does not sound appetizing. Doesn't sound appetizing at all. All right, let's move on here. Snow that looks like it was mixed with food coloring is not what you expect to see in Antarctica or anywhere else for that matter. But that's the bizarre phenomenon scientists recently photographed on an Argentine island in Antarctica. The images depicting a watermelon-colored snow were revealed by Ukraine's Ministry of Science and Education. Warmer weather during the Arctic summer prompts the spores to germinate, triggering an algae bloom that creates these weird pockets of pink watermelon snow. The bright red photosynthetic algae, which can thrive in very low temperatures, are located in snowfields around the world. The Ukrainian scientists said such snow contributes to climate change because the red raspberry color snow reflects less sunlight and melts faster. As a result, more and more bright algae are formed in the snow. Oh, it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. It actually looks like cotton candy. It's weird. History shows you can find just about anything along Florida's beaches. Some things are obvious about what they are, but what a beach walker found Thursday is a little bit more mysterious. It was rather strange. A strange doll made out of coconuts, Bruce Robertson described. Initially at Cherry Down Park, Robertson said he was pretty creeped out. What was really sort of terrifying and horrifying or interesting was it actually had a human teeth, he remembered. His pictures are also snakeskin, or show snakeskin, and the item has arms and legs with feathers on them. Robert said he dropped it back in the ocean because other beachgoers told him it was a voodoo doll and it should be destroyed, not saved. But then after some research, Robertson said he changed his feelings and now believes the item represented an African spider god known as Anansi. It was the god of slaves that came from Ghana to the Caribbean, and they used it for good luck and protection. We were quite relieved to find out it wasn't a voodoo doll, Robertson said of himself and his friends. Yes. Owner Michelle Davis disagreed with Robert's conclusion, though. She's the owner of an African bookstore in Cocoa. This is right here creepy, she said, pointing to the human teeth. She also believed the doll had human skin on it. Davis thought it could have been all part of a voodoo ritual. She said she still believes in voodoo. They do it here in Cocoa, she said. They do it all over Florida, Louisiana, New Orleans. Voodoo is very real. Because the doll is back in the ocean, Robertson is advising the next person who may find it to not be afraid. If anybody else finds it, it is not a voodoo doll. It's really a good luck doll from Africa, he said. Well, let the argument continue on that ugly doll. That's for sure. A small group of desert locusts has entered Congo, marking the first time the voracious insects have been seen in Central African countries since 1944. Kenya, Somalia, and Uganda have been battling the swarms in the worst locust outbreak these parts of East Africa have seen in over 70 years. The UN said swarms have also been sighted in Djibouti, Eritrea, and Tanzania, and recently reached South Sudan, a country where roughly half the population already faces hunger after years of civil war. A joint statement from FAO Director General Ku Dong-yu, UN Humanitarian Chief Mark Lowcock, and World Food Program Executive Director David Beasley called the swarms of locusts a scourge of biblical proportions and a graphic and shocking reminder of this region's vulnerability. The FAO said mature locusts carried in partly by wind arrived on the western shore of Lake Albert in eastern Congo Friday near the town of Bunia. The country has not seen locusts for 75 years. Needless to say, the potential impact of locusts on the country still grappling with complex conflict, Ebola and measles outbreaks, high levels of displacement, and chronic food insecurity would be devastating, the UN officials said in a joint statement. Locust swarms can reach the size of major cities and can destroy crops and devastate pasture for animals. Experts have warned that the outbreak is affecting millions of already vulnerable people across the region. Uganda's government said it was trying to curtail a large swarm and will need more resources to control the infestation that has spread to over 20 districts in the north. Soldiers have been battling swarms using handheld spray pumps, while experts have said aerial spraying is the only effective control. The UN recently raised its aid appeal from $76 million to $138 million, saying the need for help is urgent. This funding will ensure that the activities to control the locusts could take place before new swarms emerge. Experts have warned that the number of locusts, if unchecked, could grow 500 times by June when drier weather is expected to hit the area. Oh, that's scary. That is scary. All right, here's a weird one. An Australian cinephile was awarded a Guinness World Record after going to see the 2018 film Bohemian Rhapsody 108 times. Joanna Connor said she submitted her ticket stubs from 108 screenings of the Queen biopic to Guinness and was awarded a certificate for having seen the movie the most times in theaters. Well, I just found out last week from Guinness that I got the title of seeing the movie Bohemian Rhapsody 108 times, so that's the highest on record, she said. Connor first made headlines in 2019 when she revealed she had seen the film 65 times and was still frequently going to the theater. When I had the story last year, I'd seen the movie about 65 times, and when I went on the TV and had an interview from there as well, but I just couldn't stop watching it. When it got to 108, I realized that it was above the record, so I sent in all my stubs and got the title. Connor said she was only a casual Queen fan before seeing the film, but she now considers herself a super fan. No kidding. She attended a concert this month in Brisbane, and word of her accomplishment reached Queen band members Brian May and Roger Taylor, who invited her backstage. So I went backstage, I had a cuddle from them, had a kiss on both cheeks, and had a lovely photograph taken with them, Connor said. Good for her. Good for her. All right. A resident of the English Channel Island of Jersey said the author of an 82-year-old message in a bottle has been identified, and the note will be passed along to the man's daughter. Nigel Hill found the message in a bottle on a beach in early February and started searching for the family on the note's author, John Stapleford, who dated the note September 1938 and included an England address where the current residents did not have contact information for the previous owners. The note was originally thought to have been written by John or Jack Stapleford, who was born in 1890 and died in 1980, but Hill said he has since heard from a woman who identified the author of the note as her father, Jack Stapleford's son, who was also named John. John Stapleford Jr. died in 1994. He would have been 14 years old at the time the note was authored. We do know that his daughter picked up the story from the national media and verified his handwriting, as well as confirming her identity with a practicing genealogist. Hill told the media. She also mentioned to me that he said that John had a full and long career at sea, serving in the Merchant Navy. John sadly passed away in 1994, leaving a daughter and a son. Hill said he is sending the bottle and its contents to the Stapleford's daughter. I will post the bottle and the note to John's daughter next week. I know the story will live on in the family for generations, and the note will make a fabulous family heirloom. Let's get to the news, shall we? Or let's get to the thought of the day instead. That's a fantastic clown tonight, Marty. Thank you, Marty, on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we literally put a question out there on Facebook and Twitter, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Of all the ancient mysteries, which one baffles you the most and why? John, the time before the modern science is absolutely flawed on timetables of human beings. Each and every year we have new discoveries pushing these timetables further and further back. The interesting part is the why behind modern academia not accepting or ignoring so much of it. The evidence for a great cataclysm is obviously out there, and so is evidence of high intelligence before that happened. I personally agree with the theory of the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx being from a much earlier time than we believe. Again, if you just look at every structure to be built or after the Great Pyramid, the technology involved keeps decreasing. I just think these mysteries are worth solving. William, Göbekli Tepe, and how the ancient pyramids seem to age from the top down to the bottom. Since carbon dating can be affected by radiation, this would suggest that perhaps this crazy hypothesis about them being used as some sort of nuclear reactor may not be that far off. This one has really kept me up the last couple of nights. Sean, the pyramids, not just Egypt, but those all over the world, discovered and undiscovered. I am convinced that they are all part of an ancient power supply. John is all about Easter Island. Serena, really? Just one? They appear to be linked. Göbekli Tepe was buried around the time the waters rose and inundated Yaniguni, Puma, Punku. Destruction around the same time. Gil wants to learn about Stonehenge. Barry, how many of the ancient megalithic structures were built? Alex, the Ark of the Covenant, because if it existed, it could be found, and it's potentially a link to a much bigger story. Darren, I want to know about the origins of religions. Jeff, where did the treasures of Solomon's Temple go? Did the Knights Templar really move it before it fell? Was it ever really there? If it was moved, where did it go? Paul, the evidence of a culture before the young Adrias impact and the Clovis culture in the Americas. Have Graham Hancock on the show, Dave. We can maybe try. All right. Sparky, the topics of the giants and the pyramids, because there have been remains of skeletons found throughout the years. However, it appears there has been no DNA testing, blows my mind. And why information about giants is suppressed, I will never understand. I wonder if skeletons of giants were ever really sent to the Smithsonian and possibly destroyed. I just can't wrap my head around that. I have a book called Star Wars 111. In this book, it is stated that the Great Pyramid was built by crews from the third planet of Aldebaran. Stated that the King's Chamber was used for healing and the Queen's Chamber was an interstellar communications room, etc. Fact or fiction? I do not know. Everett, well, we'll save his. Lisa, I wonder how come the experts cannot seem to update their theories when new discoveries are made. Maybe admit they've had it wrong all along. Shauna, all the disappearances, from the Mary Celeste to Missing 411, spooky and scary, that town that vanished too, and the word Croatian or whatever carved on the wall. Melinda, you, because it's you. Bill Cardwell, number 1. How do they get the caramel in the caramel bar? Craig, a nightly intelligent room full of people with many great comments. What's on the other side of this gateway? He shows a picture of some big stone wall. Everett gets the last word. Keith Richards. I just can't figure that one out, and we probably never will. Thanks to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. Big thanks to Captain Shirk for getting all of our news put together for the SOR Newswire, which could be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. So make sure you check that on out. Give them a read, because she works pretty hard for us, and we enjoy her company around here. And, of course, to our guest tonight, Jaap Van Etten, for talking about the crystal skulls, consciousness, portals. Yes, that was a fun show tonight. Very, very fun show. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Special thanks to those in our chat rooms on Spreaker, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and of course all the snarkers and snarkettes on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, remember that this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. We don't want you getting in trouble for that. I want to say a big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning us on in. The good part about it is we get to do it again tomorrow night, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. We're going all Zen and Chi tomorrow night. Spiritual Knowledge with Maureen St. Germain. Let's see if we can turn the woo factor up a little bit tomorrow as well. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.